We're live. What a win from UConn. That first half was brutal, and I know that we all kind of suffered through it, but we're all pretty selfish when it comes to UConn. They got it together. Whatever was said at halftime probably was not a great experience on the bench. Let's get into it. You're locked on UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for jumping in the live edition, late night, Locked On UConn after dark, right? Doesn't Field of 68 do that? Like after dark or whatever? Yeah, we're live. We're talking about this game. It turned out to be actually a decent game for UConn in a bye game against New Hampshire, marred by. Let me just look at my notes because I don't want to go on a tangent and start being pissed off the entire time. Because to be honest with you, it's a brutal 10 minutes to start. 6 fouls to 2. New Hampshire's in the bonus with 9:58 in the first half. Like, I have to say one thing about this, and then I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. I don't know another team at the level of UConn that deals with this type of whistle at home against mid-majors or low-major teams. I just don't. Like, we hear about it all the time. Like, you go to Kansas, the fog gallon whistle. You go to Duke, it's hard to win at Duke because they get a favorable whistle. I don't know if it's because Dan Hurley gets on the refs all the time or because they play too hard. But that argument bothers me the most because Kelvin Sampson's Houston's teams are literally assaulting players on a daily basis. If you watch enough college basketball, they literally dare the ref to call a foul in every possession. And so that's what bothers me about the way it's been called over the last 6-7 years in the Dan Hurley era. So maybe it's Dan Hurley and how he gets after officials. Maybe it's not. I don't care. I said my piece. It's a ridiculous thing. Most of these guys are going vertical. And just because you're playing a slower, inferior opponent doesn't mean because they lose their balance that you push them. Anyway, on to the game. The flow of the game got better once the ref show kind of turned off. Let's look at some of the statistics. How about Jay Ross? Dan Hurley's been touting Jay Ross for weeks, months, how important this was for him to get on the floor. 14 points, was 2 of 5 from 3, looked phenomenal. He was everywhere. Deflections, had a block, picked up a couple of silly fouls, but everybody did. Solo ball was consistent, another 14 points. What can you say about Liam McNeely? Back-to-back double-doubles. He's a rebounding machine. Like, he literally is Alex Caravan's clone. And then where would we be without Alex Caravan? 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, another 4 blocks. He's in his Emeka Okafor renaissance, blocking everything. He's just phenomenal player, and we're lucky. I got one guy on right now. Sean, I'm going to get you on. I'm going to put the link in the comments if anyone wants to join. Sean, if you want to jump on, what you got, man? Talk to me. Sean, you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm out in the DR, so I'm only able to get a couple snippets of the game, but it looks a little sloppy early on, and really picked it up in the second half like they always do. I feel like early on in the season they start slow, and they always end up picking it up in the halftime. So it's just amazing the kind of adjustments they make at halftime just to flip the switch and make it almost look like a different team out there.
Yeah, and we have to remember, too, I mean, when we think about this team, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of new people. We take for granted that, these are plug-and-play guys. You bring in Liam McNeely. Sampson was not playing, what he played. He only played probably 14 minutes today because of the foul trouble. But these guys are every single one of these guys, except for Alex and Haas to a degree, is playing a new role. So some of that's going to come with growing pains. So I recognize that. I just didn't like the sloppy play. You can't do anything about the things you can't control are the ref's whistle, and you can't control like the other team hitting a bunch of threes to start the game. But all in all, I think you're right. I think they really kind of flipped a switch. the thing I loved about the end of the game is you heard the announcer saying the second team was playing as hard as if it was the national championship. And that's just something that is so indicative of this team, is no matter how shitty we play or how clunky it looks at the beginning of the year, the effort's always going to be there. Sean, did you go to the game, or were you just watching? Are you from Connecticut or whatnot?
Yeah, no, I'm from Connecticut. Didn't get to this game, but just an avid fan. I guess my other question for you is, what do you think about the Jalen Stewart's diminished role this year? I feel like he left off this last year looking like he might be able to break out, but then this year, not seeing too much utilization of him. Do you think that's just what they're seeing at practice, or he's just not making the leap like everyone else?
I think Dan's talked about this. It's a great question. I think we were all kind of shocked that he wasn't like the guy who's next, because that was the prevailing theme. But I think part of it is just that other guys have stepped up. Jay Ross in particular. You got Liam McNeely coming in, so it's a tougher nut to crack, so to speak. So I think there's a place for him, and it's going to happen, down the stretch here. And I don't have all the answers, but I definitely feel like he's going to be a guy that we're going to count on as the season goes on. But that's how good we are. That's the thing. All right, Sean, I'm going to drop you off and bring in my co-host on Tuesdays and Thursdays, who's at the game. What's up, man?
How we doing, guys?
Coming live from the XL Center. Talk to me.
We've got some championship banners in the background. Tonight is an electric night. Game 2 of the season. First game at XL. Hartford showed out. Some growing pains, I thought, in the first half. Again, some sloppy play here and there. A little bit of foul trouble again from Sampson early in the first half. Terrace, less of an impact tonight, but we talked about it on the podcast all week. Number 23, Jayden Ross, has flipped a switch for this basketball team. He was the best player on the court tonight by far. He was flying off screens in the second half. The jump shot looked smooth. Not all of them went in, but they're going to start falling. This team really, I was impressed with the amount of open jump shots that they were getting in the second half. The first half, like I said, was a little sloppy, but like we said the last couple of years, this team's a 40-minute basketball squad. They're going to wear you down by the 30th minute, 35th minute, and they really started to pull away in the second half. Solo got into the rhythm. He was 0 for 5 from 3, but found a way to go 5 of 12 from the field. Caravan, another 4 blocks. He's got 11 in 2 games, which is Donovan Klingen's trajectory. They're finding their footing. It's going to take some time. We've got some new guys in the fold, but I like what I saw here tonight in the second half.
Dan, just take a guess. How many points did Jayden Ross score all of last year?
I think it might have been 0. I don't know.
15.
15. He had 14 tonight, right?
14 tonight. Yeah.
I mean, he's well on his way. It's very clear that he has turned a page, and Hurley, I don't think Hurley would be talking that way about a player unless he really did see something. This was his first game of the year, and I was just surprised at how comfortable he was out of the gate. As soon as he entered the game, it looked like he was turning it on. On offense, he was confident. He's not hesitating shooting. Like, he's coming off screens. He's getting open jump shots, and he's taking them. That's what I like to see, especially for a guy that just started playing premier minutes his first season of the game. Like, that's I think, indicative of a player that's got some confidence coming into his first game of the year.
Do you agree with this? Paul here says the offense runs better when Haas is running the point. Much better inside-outside play. Hassan drives to the basket freely, up outside cheaters and setting up alley-oops. I think he stabilizes us. We talked about positionless basketball. What are your thoughts?
I think it's less them finding some sort of different rhythm on offense as it is what he brings differently on the defensive end. It's when he comes in the game, he's a total stopper. The offense on the other side, like, he's just erasing the point guard on the other side. He's pushing you out to 35 feet as a point guard, and he gets his hands on everything. The offense, I think, it's not going to look like it did last year. It's just not. But this team defensively, the wings that are on this team, how long they are, the wingspans at the wing positions, the 2, 3, 4 positions on this team, I think might, and in time, by the beginning and towards the end of the season, might be the story of this team in 2024.
Before we let you go, I want you to watch something really funny. I saw this from Rick Pitino today.
Is this the guy in the red blazer from the Big East
No.
tournament last year.
No.
I saw that he went
No.
golfing with that guy a few days ago. I couldn't get enough of it.
No. This is how most of us felt in the first half. Watch this.
I don't usually drink after a game until I see the film. I just asked the bartender to give me a triple.
That was me in the first half.
Sure.
I get it. It's a process. Like one of the guys in the chat right now said, it's a process. This is not the finished product, as you just mentioned, but it was really rough at the beginning. Because,
I'm getting kicked out of the XL Center by the security team here. They're doing their jobs. But
did you tell them? Did you tell them that you're on the podcast?
I did.
Just kidding.
Guys, this is the top 100 basketball podcast in the country here. Don't they know this?
Appreciate you, man. I'm gonna jump and get some. We got a bunch of people in the chat that want to jump on the show. Go have fun.
Let's do it, guys. It's gonna be a fun season of UConn basketball. We'll see you at the next one.
All right, brother. Love you. Take it easy. All right. Who's next? Sean's been on. Let's get Dennis to the stage here. We haven't heard from him yet. What's up, Dennis?
Can you hear me all right?
I hear you fine, man.
Great. Yeah, just leaving the game now, stuck in traffic outside the XL Center. But, yeah, just to reiterate what he was saying, you can tell it's a young team. Just trying to gel, first half, kind of working some things out. But they started pulling away, in the second half. But I think it's definitely going to be a good season. They're going to hit their stride, later in the year, obviously. But I think it's definitely something to build on for sure. So I know you got a lot of people.
For sure.
I don't want to be on here too long.
No, man, you're good. This is going to be a short one because it's late, and we all want to go rest because if you're like me, you got the UConn women tomorrow, you got football and all kinds of cool stuff tomorrow morning. So, look, I think you're right. I think the idea is this team is not a finished product, but when you win by 39 points or almost 40 points, you have a pretty nice little point spread of, Solo with another 14 points, McNeely with a double-double, Caravan again with 17. Even Terrace Reed, who didn't do a lot tonight, but he still had. Then you look at the box score, and he had 11 and 8. And then we talk about our interior defense being such a problem. We had 10 blocks on the night again. So as with all of the initial foul issues, at the end of the night, they righted the ship. And I think what people are worried about is when we play a tougher competition, that will be an issue early, and it'll be too big of a hole to dig out of. I agree with that, but I don't necessarily worry about that as much because I think by the time that happens, we'll have really defined roles on this team. That to me is the more important issue. Is that's what Dan Hurley's figuring out before they go to Maui.
Yeah, I agree definitely, and I think it's gonna be a fun season. So I'm excited, and this is my first game as a student in the student section, and I was really impressed. I'm almost 40 years old. See these young kids around me; they are very, very educated in the game of basketball. They know what they're looking for. It was an awesome experience.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm as a old 43. I'm proud of you that you went back to school and that you're doing some cool stuff there. That is the coolest thing that someone said to me today. And so I really appreciate you, following the show and jumping on a couple times today because
I really appreciate it. You're doing a great job on the podcast. I just want to give a shout out. I'm a Marine Corps vet, and I run a free guitar program for vets with PTSD called Guitars for Vets out of Enfield, Connecticut. And if any vets are listening, Google it, Guitars for the number 4 Vets. Get 10 free lessons and you get a free acoustic guitar. Look and see what you have in your area around the country.
That's dope, man. That's so cool. I just put that in the chat, like Guitars for Vets, Google Guitars for Vets. But DM me or message me and see if I can do anything else for you to do that because I love in a past life I did a lot of stuff for Wounded Warriors and stuff like that. So please feel free to hook me up with whatever literature you need. I love to kind of even just throw that on a podcast, especially if it's one that I feel like is going to pop where there's going to be more eyeballs to it. I'm happy to mention it or just kind of bring it up casually. Great.
Thank you so much. I'll send you a picture of the brochure. And like you said, the vets get 10 free lessons, 1 hour each, and then they get a free acoustic guitar. So right on, man. Thank you so much and keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome, man. Have a good rest of your night. Take care.
You too.
All right, that was Dennis. Let's see if we have Tim here. What's up, Tim? You want to come on and talk about this?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Good, brother. I can hear you just fine. What's up?
Awesome, man. Dude, I graduated from UConn in 2013, and it's been amazing to watch them just win all these years, and I think they looked amazing tonight. Obviously in the second half, not the first half, but I think that we're seeing the growing pains with Aiden Mahaney, and those shots are going to fall soon. I think everybody's worrying about nothing really. I mean, and I thought his defensive intensity was a lot better today than it was the first game, and I think that message really got across. So I love to hear what you think about that, because I thought he was pressuring the ball. They were going full court a lot of the game today, which was really nice. So what do you think?
No, I agree. I think the interesting thing about this team right now is, and GLC 3344. I'm not going to hold it against him that he's a Jets fan, but that's a really great comment, because that's how I feel. As Dan Hurley is exploring lineups right now, and I have said it on the podcast, the recorded version, that I think Terrace Reed is going to start at either by Maui or after Maui. I think that's something that will end up happening, because they got Terrace Reed in the transfer portal from Michigan, not only because he was a talented player, a top 30 freshman, and was a double-double machine when he played for Michigan, but because he had the least fouls per possession of any of the people in the transfer portal. Like, that is a stat that they were like, hey, we're going to need this guy because Sampson's a foul machine. Until he figures that out, we need a guy who can give you 11 points, 8 rebounds in a block in a game. So that's where that kind of came from. And it's not because they thought he was like this amazing player. It was, we can mold him into something different. And then the same thing with Aiden. I think the same thing with Aiden. Like, Aiden is a 1,000-point scorer in college basketball. And he's looked a little lost at times at UConn, because it's a totally different system. It's a different level of intensity. It's a different level of acumen when it comes to making reads. And it's not just like, okay, you're open, shoot. I don't know if you guys remember this, and I'll because Tim, because you're on, you asked this question. But when we did the show on Michael Cohen's how UConn built an offensive juggernaut, they do advanced analytics on where you shoot the best. And if you notice, sometimes these guys pass up open shots because it's not one of their quote unquote hotspots. And that's just something we've learned over kind of following this team and learning about kind of what Luke Murray and Dan have kind of instilled in this team. And if you listen eventually to the Braden Mullins interview next Monday, coming up at 9 a.m. next Monday, I'm teasing it a little bit. That's one of the things he talked about in the recruiting process, is that they brought him, you're so good on points per possession, and we're going to make you better. And like, that's the whole point of this, is these guys are figuring out like where they are perfect at shooting. Same happened last year with Cam. Like, you saw Cam didn't shoot a lot on specific areas of the court, even when he was good. But if he was on top of the key, he would shoot every time, because he shot something like 68%, something crazy. So that's what they do with this team. They're trying to figure out who does what where, and then they're going to be a machine going forward. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I think that comment was great, that this is just all lineup testing. I mean, honestly, we could really probably go 10 deep. Even seeing Abraham out there, like, he is electric at just learning the system. He'll probably be able to nail it. So I love the team. Man. They're deep. I
don't think they're going to go 10 deep, but I think they're going to go 9. I think they'll eventually be up at 9, because I think what I think is going to end up happening is Ahmad Noel is going to be too good of a player to continue to give just a few minutes a game to. And he's going to push these guys, because if Aiden continues to struggle, if Haas looks like, he hasn't made that leap, Dan's going to want another spark plug at the point, or to kind of lead the team a little bit. And Ahmad is more than up for the challenge. Then you have Jalen Stewart, and we saw what Jay Ross can do tonight, who Gaetano just said it might be the next Andre Jackson Jr. And that's something that Dan Meehan, who was on earlier and is on my show twice a week as a co-host, has talked about how he feels like he's the next Andre Jackson. And I think that is a very fair point, just based off their size and their
better shooting, though. Better shooting,
with a better jump shot, absolutely,
right off the bat, because like Andre can hit shots eventually, but like no one's going to exploit Jayden Ross for like playing off on him. Like, I think that's something that he's going to be strong at.
Yep, it's a great point by Gaetano, and people are agreeing in the chat, so that's good stuff, man.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Cool, man. Appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your night.
You as well.
All right, that was Tim. If anyone else wants to jump on, I'm going to stay on for about 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to go down and hang out with my wife and my children until they go to sleep. Every Husky scored tonight. UConn put up 57 points in the second half. That's a great point from Bernie. Yeah, man, that second half was a lot of fun to watch. That was Husky basketball in the second half, and I loved it. All right, let's get Tyler in. What's up, Tyler? How we doing?
Yo, what's going on? Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Little under the weather.
It's all right.
Yeah, I kind of feel like everyone said everything already. Tale of two halves, kind of like the last game. Sloppy. I think the one thing, we always talk about like not having Donovan back there to like protect the rim. I noticed a lot of, and Hurley will obviously get this under control, but especially in this game, like Diarra, Solo, and Ross, I thought were way too aggressive on the wings. And, they went for a steal, didn't get it. The guy get into the lane. I think that might have been how Sampson drew one of his fouls. But the other one on one of those, the guy ended up getting to the free throw line. Another guy got a jumper in the lane. But I think, since we don't have, that elite rim protector in the middle, we really got to make sure, we don't always – these wings are so athletic, and they're going to make amazing big plays and take it the opposite way. But sometimes just like locking down and not making the guy work. And that's what Steph Castle was so good at, right? He just made you work. And like, I think like, Alex, Cam, and Newton, they weren't like the most athletic guys last year, but they also didn't take these risky plays. They kind of kept their man in front of them, played great help defense. So I don't know, for me, it was mostly like on the defense. This is mostly in the first half, but yeah, that was kind of like the only comment I had. I think that hasn't really been talked about.
No, and you honestly, Tyler, it's a great point. Like, I think for me, the thing about Donovan was he erased a lot of mistakes, right? So what we're seeing right now is you see a lot of mistakes on defense that are leading to silly fouls. I didn't like the whistle tonight. I don't think that. I think it was a brutal first half, and I think it kind of marred a lot of what they were trying to do. So while I agree, and there's some people in the chat that were like, some of the fouls were silly. I agree, but I think sometimes when you make mistakes, what's human nature is to kind of try to make up for them, right? So you compound it by reaching, you compound it by slapping or trying to go for a steal when you shouldn't, and at least easy buckets. So it's just, and this is a great point from Brandon here. UConn can't just get caught up chasing last year's team shadow. They need to be their own team, and they're good enough. And I totally agree. And I was just about to get to that point, Brandon. Like, this team, if they give up, like, think about it, they scored 57 points in the second half, and they played solid defense. They didn't play great defense. They gave up 29 points. If they play against a higher major team, that's probably closer to like 45 points, but they probably only give up 30 or 35. But that's okay. It's okay to win by 10. We don't need to. We don't need to win by 100 every time. I think that's a great point. Is like that team last year was so dominant that it doesn't need to be as dominant this year. They just need to be solid.
Yeah, for sure. But and another thing, why is it that they come out in the second half and it seems like they're running their sets? Like when the game starts, the first half, it looked like helter skelter. Like there was no like, and that's why I get nervous when like Haas is out there, because I feel like last year, and I'm going back to last year, but we had so many guys that could just like be like the floor generals: Steph, Newton, Cam, Haas. Like whenever it gets sloppy, they would just take the ball and then like set it up. And like Aiden's new, right? Like so we don't really have. And like Haas was very sloppy in the first half. The floor must have been slippery because he was slipping. But there's too much dribbling in the first half. But yeah, I don't, in the second half they come out and they're running their sets. I don't know why they don't do that in the first half.
Honestly, it could just be one of those things where it just looked sloppy. New Hampshire probably did a couple things to minimize them. I missed the first 5 minutes of the game, so part of that when they were down 11-8 because I was watching the game and it was Providence Stonehill ending of the game, and I was getting frustrated that I couldn't watch the beginning of the game. But I think for the most part of the 15 minutes I watched, it was just really sloppy. They didn't get into sets quick enough. Like I think to your point, last year it was, even though they played a slower style, it was constant. It was like what's the comment in the huddle a long time ago that we've said a million times? The music never stops. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes you see some guys stopping because they're kind of thinking about what needs to happen, and that's going to change as time goes on.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
that's what I think we need to look at is the progressions will get faster and quicker. And so I think you're going to see a better team by Maui because Jay Ross has clearly solidified himself as the best player on the bench, who may even start. And then I think you look at Haas. He stabilized the team in the second half.
He did.
You know what I mean? So I think Dan's going to look at that and go, do I want to play positionless with no point guard, or do I want to have either Aiden or Haas and then whoever else around the center?
Yeah.
Those are the real questions.
And I think you're on with Noel, man. Like he's been limited minutes, and I know it's at the end of the game, but he looks poised. He looks ready. He looks like he can handle more minutes than what he's been getting. Yeah.
And I agree. And then to Bernie's point here, it's so think about this. Aiden Mahaney looked tentative. He still had 9 points and 3 assists. He was 2 of 5 from 3, right? Then you have Liam McNeely, who no one's even talked about tonight, had 10 points and 11 rebounds.
Yeah.
Another double-double.
Yeah.
14 points for Jay Ross. Jalen Stort gave you 4 points off the bench in limited minutes. Terrace Reed, 11 points, 8 rebounds. So this team is still doing what it needs to do, and I think it's only going to get better as time goes on. I mean, I know it's like a simplistic thing, but it's the truth.
The other thing is Alex played so good. He played such good help defense tonight, dude. He's amazing, man. He is so fucking good. He's so good. Amazing.
I mean, to anyone's surprise, I know people are pissed off about the XL Center not getting all these great games. I mean, this is the back-to-back national champion, and then I saw pictures of people there, and it doesn't look like it's a full place. Like, do you want the good games, or do you not? Like, can you at least sell out New Hampshire? Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
I'd kill to go to this game right now. I'm in North Carolina.
I've never been. Yeah, I'm not from Connecticut. I've never been to either. I don't know what the XL is about or Campbell, but
there you go.
Yeah, but
wouldn't you, if someone said, "Bro, I got a free ticket for you in a plane ride," you'd be there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I'm in DC though, so it's far for me to get there. I have to get to the game though. I usually go when they play Georgetown. I usually go see them. So
good deal, brother. Yeah. Well, listen, you have a good rest of your night, man. Thanks for popping in.
Yeah, take care.
All right, brother. All right, guys, I'm gonna jump. Really great show. I really appreciate anyone that jumped in. If I didn't get to you, I think I got to everybody. I mean that, right, Chris? I mean, come on, man. Like I used to live there, and I'm so kind of like frustrated that I don't get to go to any games. If I can go to a couple this year, I'm going to, but those aren't promised to me. And if you're close, don't not go to these games. These games are amazing. On top of it, this is not like normal team behavior. This team does not, there's never going to be another three-peat opportunity for UConn. Go to it now. Please fill it up. All right. That's right, Ant. 2 things we know. Husky players are figuring it out, and Wu-Tang is forever. By the way, that's my only political statement in the back. I don't give a shit who you voted for. Presidents are temporary. Wu-Tang is forever. And on that note, I love you all. Go Huskies.